You're listening live to Rightside Radio with Phil Williams. It's hard to go wrong when you're on the right side. Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right.
Alabama and Tennessee syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, covering down on all the issues. And oh yeah, like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. This is a crazy day. I literally ran into the studio. I'm so glad the studio and my law firm are in the same building. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and say that right now.
We'd have to clone you if they weren't.
I don't know how this happens, but okay. You know what? God is good. Coffee is ready. I am on the air. Let's get her done. And by the way, it is Friday, so hit it, man. Friday! Yes, it is. And that guy over there pushing buttons is JP on the board. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
I'm great on this Friday.
Yes, you are. And it's a beautiful looking Friday, too, by the way.
I know. I'm thankful it's Friday.
Is it hard for you to look out the golf course every day sitting there in your chair?
Sometimes,
ensconced behind your microphone?
Sometimes when I see a group of guys, I'm like, why do they not have jobs?
They don't.
Yeah.
Actually, they don't. All right, hey, we got a great show laid on for you on a Friday afternoon. You know the deal. Every Friday, about halfway through hour number 2, we're going to jump into some JP on sports because the man is just like a guru, a savant, if you will, on sports. So, yeah, we'll do JP on sports halfway through hour number 2. And then Butters was out yesterday. Butters is in today. So Butters will be here because I don't know if y'all know this or not. Butters himself, that's actually his former call sign. He was a naval aviator. So Butters is going to be in studio because we're going to be talking about things going on with air traffic control and is it safe to fly the friendly skies? We'll talk about all that and Butters in the house at 4 o'clock or top of the hour number 3. So that to say, I've still got a triple dipper. So hit it, man.
The Triple Dipper. 3 stories you've got to know.
That's right, the Triple Dipper, 3 stories, 3 themes, if you will, that you got to know as we run today's show. First out the gate, I just call it all the wrong reasons. All the wrong reasons. Can you believe some of the things that progressive liberals are rioting over, complaining about, filing litigation for? And you look at it and go, my gosh. And they're just in it for all the wrong reasons. And we'll talk about some examples because I think it's fair for us to just go ahead and lampoon them when we can. Speaking of lampooning, number 2, you know the deal. Every once in a while, I'm looking around. I'm getting ready for the show early in the morning. I think, whoo, that's some wokeness. Wow, how much wokeness? Where'd all the wokeness go? How much wokeness can there be? And next thing you know the deal. I've got a vast cornucopia, a buffet, if you will, a veritable plethora of wokeness, which means we're going to have a round of adventures in woke world. That'll be number 2 on the Triple Dipper. And then getting back a little serious. So, former Secretary of Transportation was Pete Buttigieg, and Buttigieg did not get the job done very well, not the least of which was our air traffic control. New Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy held a press conference yesterday and said he's got a report now that shows how bad it was and that Buttigieg knew. But they got a plan. They're actually putting a plan in place to rehabilitate the air traffic control systems and staffing nationwide within 3 years. It's a big task, but I think they can do it. That's number 3 on the Triple Dipper. All right, you guys, let me jump on into the Rightside Way opening monologue. I'll just remind you guys that, as always, attorney Stan McDonald at the law firm of Wilmer & Lee. He is the 30-year practitioner of law in North Alabama who is also a longtime Rightside ruffian and, oh, by the way, the sponsor daily of your Rightside Way monologue. And I will tell you more about Stan McDonald in just a minute. All right, hey, listen, by the way, for those of y'all that watch on the live stream, we're going to put some pictures up here in just a minute that will sort of help elucidate what I'm about to describe. But if you're not on the live stream, you're welcome to go there. You can just go pick it up for nothing else on rightsidemedia.org, or you can find us on YouTube. But yeah, I'm going to show some pictures of what I'm about to talk about. Because y'all, this was a major week in New York City. Can you hear the sarcasm in my voice? Yeah. New York City, the Big Apple, Times Square, the crossroads of the world. They got a new statue. Yeah, they did, and it's a big one, like literally. Like, remember when statues were actually meant to honor something or someone? A bronze likeness of that moment in time, that epic fight for survival, that person who stood in the face of tyranny. Future generations of citizens would look up at the statue, and you could imagine their wonder and their awe as they reflected on its meaning. But this new statue, not so much. We now have a brand new 12-foot bronze statue in Times Square titled Grounded in the Stars. Yes, we do, by an artist named Thomas J. Price. And it appears to be a 12-foot likeness of an overweight black woman wearing ill-fitting clothing, giving that "what did you say to me" look to the gas station clerk. That's it. That's all it is. It looks like it came right out of people in Walmart. I don't understand it. I'm not sure why it's there, but that's what we got. So what is this aspirational likeness supposed to be? Did she stop a robbery? Did she march for civil rights? Did she save a child from a burning building? Nope. She's just a grumpy, frumpy lady who looks like she rolled in late to work after an all-nighter and expected the boss to get over it. She's no one person either. She's, I guess, every person? Not really. We're told that her statue is to counter the two old white guy statues that have been in Times Square for years. Never mind that those are statues of real people who did really amazing things. According to the website about the statue, it, quote, offers a unique opportunity to experience Times Square in a new light and share in a moment of personal reflection and empathy amidst the hyperactivity of the district. Gross. You want to hear more? I got more. The website also goes on to say it was, quote, installed at ground level on a wide, low base. The work invites engagement with hundreds of thousands of people who traverse the plazas each day, and the woman in Grounded in the Stars cuts a stark contrast to the pedestaled permanent monuments, both of white men, which bookend Duffy Square, while embodying a quiet gravity and grandeur. Oh, shut up. That sounds like a line from the Hunger Games. I mean, that's the most insufferable, pretentious thing I think I've ever heard. But let's be honest. This is an embarrassment. I mean, here's an idea. How about this? Let's put up statues of things that actually celebrate life and honor achievement and memorialize sacrifice and actual heroism. So there's another statue, and by the way, if you're looking at the live stream, you'll see it. There's another statue that is my favorite statue of all time. It's very near Ground Zero. It's adjacent to the former site of the Twin Towers. And it's a memorial that I love. It's called the America's Response Monument. If you haven't seen it, I encourage you to look it up. The America's Response Monument. And it depicts an amazingly detailed depiction of a Special Forces soldier on a horseback in Afghanistan. It honors the men of Task Force Dagger. And I was originally a part of Task Force Dagger in the beginning of the war, and I transitioned from there to Task Force Crossbow. It depicts the bravery and the sacrifice of the first soldiers who entered the war after the attacks of 9/11, and which, for the first time in modern history, some of us rode horses on the battlefield and lived away from everything and everybody, and that's our statue. And it's awesome. And it was commissioned by a group of investors from Wall Street who had lost friends on 9/11. The investors chose to remain anonymous because it was not about them. It's about the sacrifice of the men who rode the horses in Afghanistan. It's the only such monument to U.S. Special Forces that's openly accessible to the public and not on a military base. So what does it take for a society to become so numb? It just accepts as a matter of course that representations of honor, those monuments to who we are or who we say we are as a people, are just rendered ridiculously trivial, like the big giant statue of the woman in Times Square. I mean, do we or do we not believe as a culture in the sanctity of life, the honoring of sacrifice, the exalting of heroism? And look, I believe the answer is still a firm yes to that. But too often, though, the actions of those who deviate from our cultural norms and mores become a mere statistic, and we just shelve them in favor of the next shiny thing. We've got to get a grip on that, y'all. We do. We have to, as a people, as a culture, demand that achievement and merit be given value, like real value, like lasting value, like a statue. Like nothing else matters as much as those things that are actually valuable. And that this 12-foot statue of the woman who looks like she's had a bad day is really not anything worthy. So yeah, I do. I love the America's Response Monument, but I can think of everyday folks out there too who maybe didn't have super qualifications, maybe didn't have the dynamic resume, maybe they didn't have a chance to become Green Berets or do things like that, but I can think of amazing folks out there who don't have their own monument, who deserve them far more than having the giant statue of the woman who looks like she's had a bad cup of coffee. Like how about Mary Rose Christopik? Who's Mary Rose Christopik? Well, let me tell you. During the Sandy Hook Elementary shooting, her actions could not be described as anything less than heroic. You see, Mary Rose Christopik was a teacher, and thanks to her, 20 students survived those tragic events. When the first shots rang out in Sandy Hook Elementary School, the quick-thinking Christopik, she got her entire class of 20 into a walk-in closet and barricaded the door. She said, I took the children into the closet and I talked with them to keep them quiet. I told them that I loved them, she said in an interview. She said, I believe there was a bad person in the school, so don't say anything. I didn't want to tell them anything past that. And she sat there and held the door tightly, even though she could hear the gunman outside yelling to let him in, let him in, let him in. One mother of an 8-year-old student in Christopik's class said her daughter was safe due to that woman's heroic actions. She said, my daughter's teacher is a hero. But to my knowledge, Mary Rose Christopik has no statue, and there should be. In another tragic event similar to that, let's think about this one, Columbine High School. Remember that? When school shootings had never been really heard of much, and all of a sudden there was this one, Columbine High School in Littleton, Colorado in 1999. I met a survivor from Columbine. It was sobering. Dave Sanders at Columbine was a computer and business teacher. He's a coach of the girls' basketball and softball teams. His students said that he was a teacher, a friend, a mentor, and inspiration. And when the gunman started firing outside the school, he ran to the cafeteria and sounded the alarm. And he, along with 2 of the school's janitors, they helped to get more than 100 students out of the path of danger by herding them away from the shooters. He saved an untold number of lives that day. By the time the gunman actually arrived, the cafeteria was nearly empty thanks to him. He was in the upstairs by then, in the hallways, trying to get students safely hidden in the classrooms when he was shot from behind by one of the killers. He was hit in the torso, the head, the neck, and he managed to drag himself into a science lab where he bled to death while he was waiting for help. Dave Sanders, just a guy, put himself in harm's way to ensure the safety of those with whom he'd been entrusted was ensured. And I don't believe there's a statue in his honor, but there should be. Look, that's just a few examples of heroes who have valued the lives of others more than enough to risk putting their own life in harm's way to protect them. And I read their examples and I'm moved by them. And that's just 2 of many. And the lives of others like them who were saved during these events are exponential now. And they'll have the opportunity to excel and thrive because those good people did hard things for the right reasons in the face of evil actions. And it reminds me that while we have a segment of society that has become desensitized to the value of life and chooses to waste time and resources mocking why monuments should even exist, that truly there are a majority out there, I believe, who still know right from wrong, who still know the meaning of the inarguable passage of Scripture when Jesus said, greater love hath no man than this, that he would lay down his life for his friends. That's John 15:13. But the fact that good people outnumber the bad does not also absolve us, though, of the responsibility of making sure the sentiments that I'm talking about are actually preserved, like for future generations. Like, how about we build a statue? How about we ensure that we never allow ourselves to become so callous and immature that we just stand idly by, while highbrow nonsense and virtue signaling takes the meaning of life and wrings it out like a wet rag and puts it up like a statue. So yeah, if we're going to be a city on a hill, if we're going to be a nation that says that we're vigilant against the apathy and the angst that downplays the meanings of life, the actual meaningful events of life, then we have to point out the ludicrous schlump of a statue of the petulant lady in Times Square and call it what it is. It's a big fat bronze that has no standards and no value and no appreciation for life, and it bears no distinction to anything that should have been placed in the crossroads of the world. This is our country. This is our culture. This is our house, and this we will defend. And you can build a statue to that. And that's a wrap for the Rightside Way. Well, I don't know. Maybe some of y'all look at a statue and go, I don't see the big deal. I do, though. I think it's just one of those things you look at it and go, why does that have a statue? Why do we want a statue that just looks like somebody rolled out of bed and put on the dirtiest clothes they could find laying on the floor and just walked into work late and got mad at everybody there? That's what it looks like. And I'm thinking, that's not worthy. I'm saying America's response. I'm saying heroism. I'm saying value. Put it in bronze for future generations. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Man, y'all apparently have some views on statues because I'm looking right now at the text lines. It's blowing up. For those of y'all that want to text or call in, it's 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. Tell me what you're thinking. First I got to tell you though what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Attorney Stan McDonald. He's your guy in North Alabama if you need somebody as a lawyer. So Attorney Stan McDonald. He's a partner at the law firm of Wilmer and Lee. He's a 30-year veteran in the practice of law. And listen, I'm going to tell you right now, I know him personally. Stan's a good dude. He's also a good lawyer. He's also, by the way, a good conservative. That guy's been in the mix for years, stirring things up on the stuff that right side ruffians care about. So yeah. Attorney Stan McDonald, he has represented his clients as a lawyer in literally thousands of real estate transactions over the years. He knows how to represent you in any local, state, or federal court. I like to say, you know the deal. If Stan McDonald is on your side, you will have no greater friend. Likewise, your opposition would have no greater foe. So, you need an attorney in North Alabama. I'm going to tell you how to contact him. You ready? Here we go. Stan McDonald, the law firm is Wilmer and Lee. He's an America First family man. Here's his phone number. 256-479-3020. That's Stan McDonald, 256-479-3020. And tell him, please, that you heard about it on Rightside Radio. Oh, yeah. No representation made. The quality of legal service be performed grade the quality of legal service for all the lawyers. Bam!
I mean, you're just racking up like 9/8 like day after day now.
I don't want to brag, man, but ain't no mulligans on that one.
He's got it down.
Text lines. What do we got going, man? I'll tell you what. Michael from Madison talking about the what do they call that? What did I say it was? A something of the stars statue. What do they call it?
I can look it up again.
Hang on, I got it right here. I got it in my side notes just in case I had to refer back to something in writing. I don't know. The goodness of the stars or some stupid name like that. I forget what. But anyway, bottom line is he says
grounded in the stars.
Grounded.
Yeah.
Grounded in the stars. Why'd they call it that?
I don't know. I've yet to hear a good reason as to why they put it up in the first place.
There were some hallucinogenics involved, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, Michael from Madison says when the pigeons poop on that statue, they're going to say the birds are racist. Oh, God. All right, Michael's winning so far. Hit me some applause on Michael. That was. Oh, my gosh. You know what's funny? Now, I believe that the statue was very likely, based upon the level of pretension in their verbiage, I'm going to bet that the statue was actually built by progressive leftists.
Yeah, I'm going to take a wild guess and say yeah.
Yeah. Although it's funny because like Penny from Athens and a couple of others are saying the statue looks a lot like Letitia James.
You know, maybe this is her trying to direct the attention from her going to jail soon. So.
Oh, shoot. Did you just go there?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. Hey, all you Rightside ruffians out there, you are listening to Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative and just plain right. Just saving the world. One soundbite at a time. And we got some breaking news right now, and I don't know what to make of this. So apparently in New Jersey right now, Fox News is reporting that two Democrat, I think they're state representatives, I guess. They could be. I don't think they're members of Congress, but two Democrat representatives. It says Democrats stormed a New Jersey ICE facility, Immigration and Customs. It's basically it's an ICE detention center. Democrats stormed a New Jersey ICE facility that is holding MS-13 members, and they, along with some protesters, have barricaded themselves into a guard shack or something like that in protest. And this is the most jacked up thing I think I've ever seen.
So apparently the gates opened to allow an ICE bus in, and that's when the lawmakers then rushed through the gates past security and stormed into the facility.
It's basically a prison. I mean, it's a detention center. It's a place where people are held by law enforcement, and they're gonna bum rush the gate and barricade themselves in, and they are elected officials. You know what? Please throw the book at them. Please don't let this be a thing where but you know what? It's New Jersey, so who knows? But this is nuts. This is absolutely nuts. All right, let me get some text messages because you guys are awesome. Mark from Red Bay checking in. He says that statue in Times Square looks like Letitia James when she found out that she didn't get Trump. Oh, that's good. Bruce from Springville says, Phil, you spoke of the true heroes, even though mankind might not appreciate it. God will always remember and reward those called to by his name, for we are to store up our treasures in heaven. I agree with that, Bruce. I do. Absolutely. Ed P. from Huntsville. But hey, Ed, I wasn't saying we should honor ourselves. I'm saying I think this is nothing wrong with us honoring others and basically pointing out good character. Ed P. from Huntsville says, Phil, that statue looks like it could be Letitia James finding out she's been indicted for mortgage fraud. There's a whole lot of Letitia James going on in here. David from Tuscumbia says, if I were black, that would really provoke me to anger. There are so many excellent examples of things accomplished by black people that deserve to be recognized and memorialized. Yeah, you know, I look at that and I think, too, I don't know what good it did. And since the left is so into what they call their intersectionalities, doesn't that, I mean, what's the point here? And I don't know that there is a point except that, you know, they're pretentious. Jeff from Indiana says, come on, Phil, quit knocking the leftist bronze because it represents what they are. Angry, unkempt, out of shape, and mad about it because everyone's not as pathetic as they are. Wow. Jeff, come on, man. Get you some stop by Buc-ee's and get you some sweetness there. You know, just go ahead and get some beaver nuggets. He says, I wonder how come they didn't put green eyes in it because it should have had the green eyes of envy because I believe that's what there was inspiration for it. Jeff, come back to us, bro. Anyway, Lisa from Huntsville says, great monologue. I thought it was a Babylon Bee article when I saw the picture. I know, it's true. So all I can think of when I look at that statue is that the woman has had it with her children. Says, my mama would put her hands on her hips like that and give me that look when she was done. Also, the one and only time I've ever been to New York, I was chaperoning a group of middle schoolers, mostly girls. The only thing I was thinking about was how do I get these girls from point A to point B without anybody getting mugged? I did not admire the beauty of Times Square, nor do I admire this statue. As you pointed out, there are many who deserve statues. Point. Y'all are some texting machines today. Stephen from Huntsville says, Michael's text was epic. I literally laughed out loud. That's the one about the birds. Yeah, exactly. That one does win for the day. If John from Huntsville's keeping points, make sure that Michael gets points. Speaking of John from Huntsville. Says, Phil, fantastic monologue, but I forgot to be honest, I'm not a big fan of any statue, especially, but I got to be honest, that I'm not a fan of any statue, especially statues of people. Okay. Is that like a thing? Like they scare you like some people don't like clowns? I don't know. Also, JP, did you see your Braves win extra innings last night?
I did. I did. It was quite epic. Also, I'm wondering, is there a statue phobia name out there anywhere?
Can you look that up, please?
Fear of statues.
Fear of statues? What phobia is fear of statues?
It's
There is one?
automatonophobia.
Automatonophobia.
Automatonophobia. Fear of fear of statues, particularly those that resemble human figures. Automatonophobia.
John, recognizing it is half the battle.
Yeah, I can get you some help.
All right, let me digress here. I'm going to come back to these text messages. Y'all are all in, y'all. I mean, I love this audience. We're going to be talking here in a minute about people that do things for all the wrong reasons, and I'm pretty sure these chuckleheads up in New Jersey are making my point for me. All the wrong reasons. So I got to see if I can find, is this story, is it up on the news right now? Yep, there we go. Okay, tell you what, I'm going to recount this with you. I'm learning about it as we go here together. So story on foxnews.com right now, current as of the last few minutes. Democrat Congress member, they're actually Congress members. They're members of Congress.
So they're not state reps, they're members of Congress. That's amazing.
My gosh. Democrat Congress members stormed New Jersey ICE prison to conduct quote-unquote oversized visit, yelling that people deserve it. I didn't say, okay, I put word yelling in. Let me rephrase. People deserve dignity, in quotation marks. ICE's Delaney Hall in Newark, New Jersey is currently holding alleged killers, MS-13 gang members, child rapists, and more. Well, by golly, they deserve to have somebody storm the gates on their behalf. 3 members of Congress stormed through the gates of a U.S. Immigration Customs Enforcement detention facility in New Jersey on Friday, demanding to be allowed to conduct an oversight visit. By the way, I have to ask, JP, do you think they did the same thing with the January 6th prisoners?
I don't think so, no.
I mean, those were actually American citizens.
Yeah, I don't
Many of whom were
recall.
being denied due process and being held, indefinitely while they waited on some hearing somewhere to decide whether they really tried to overthrow the government.
Yeah, I don't recall anybody doing that, no.
No. In fact, I recall that nobody was even allowed to go see them, period. And we've had multiple stories about how bad their conditions were. Unbelievable. Anyway, Representatives Rob Menendez Jr., Bonnie Watson Coleman, and LaMonica McIver, all New Jersey Democrats, entered ICE's Delaney Hall detention facility in Newark and were holed up inside the first checkpoint, Department of Homeland Security personnel said. Quote unquote, these members of Congress storming into a detention facility goes beyond bizarre political stunts and puts the safety of our law enforcement agents and detainees at risk. Members of Congress are not above the law and they cannot illegally break into detention facilities. Had these members requested a tour, we would have facilitated the tour. This is an evolving situation. That's just unbelievable. But then again, it's not, because you know what? Talk about timely. So my first dipper here is called All the Wrong Reasons. And what I'm looking at is a constant, it's like you look at it and go, okay, they've got their cause, everybody's going to have their cause, and yet they're choosing the worst causes. Like, I don't know, how about let's fly down to El Salvador and meet with Abrego Garcia. That's going to be awesome, to the point that they finally are getting told by the minority leader in the House, please stop making your trips. You're hosing us. Because they are. Because these chuckleheads are doing everything for all the wrong reasons. There's no benefit there to doing this. None. And let me ask, when I look at this, I find myself thinking, do you go to the prisons to make sure that American citizens are okay? What do you think is actually happening in there? Do you think they're being hung by their toenails and waterboarded every day? Are they not getting fed? Is that what's happening? Is there some kind of, I don't know, they didn't get a soft enough pillow? What is it you need to expect and find? I mean, it's a detention center, but I can tell you right now, because in my county here at Etowah County, Alabama, we had a long-time detention center for ICE here in our county. And let me tell you something. Even during a Republican administration, keeping up with the ever-changing federal requirements to maintain an ICE facility is something else. I mean, they got to have a recreation yard to a certain size based upon the number of potential inhabitants. They got to have fences to a certain height. They got to have X amount of ventilation. They've got to have it goes on and on. The food. I mean, it goes on and on and on. So the idea that these members of Congress felt the need to have to actually rush through the gates along with other protesters is, well, first of all, I hope they go to jail themselves.
Just keep them in there.
Can we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't we do that? Let's go ahead and just say, you just abdicated your rights to walk freely, so why don't we just go ahead and cuff you, and we'll put you in Delaney Hall. And then, we'll make sure that you understand that detention centers are not meant to be vacation sites. This is not a destination location. There's nobody there trying to book it for a wedding. It's awesome.
But you know what? That may open their eyes when they're actually having to live with these rapists and
Yeah.
the worst of the worst that are in the jail, and they realize, oh, the people I'm defending and wanting out are actually not that great of people.
That's a great point. So I'm looking at Bonnie Watson Coleman up on the screen right now, and Robert Menendez Jr. I have a feeling that Bonnie Watson Coleman would not last 5 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
I don't think she would last 5 minutes in general population. I think that the first thing she'd do is get freaked out.
And then they'll realize that the common folk who had to live with these people before they got into the prison, what they had to deal with.
Yeah, you know what? Here's the other thing, though. Let's be real serious about this. You rush into a prison yard, and you're regardless of whether we want to think highly of them or not, the fact is that members of Congress do bear they have some stature in our society, right? They're members of Congress. So then you have all these bad guys in there who are notorious for being true bad guys. MS-13, Tren de Aragua, they're ruthless. So they've got an immediate hostage opportunity. Why not? What are we going to lose? You're shipping me out anyway. How about I go ahead and grab that congresswoman and just say, I'm going to hold her here until you get me what I want, Mr. President?
Yeah, this is another Babylon Bee article come to life. You wouldn't believe it unless you saw it, because it's so outrageous.
It absolutely is. Take me to a break. We'll come right back and talk about more of this kind of stuff. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. Making common sense like a superpower. I'll tell you what I'm seeing right now is some of these Democrats have no common sense whatsoever. None. Absolutely. Okay, so first of all, Democrat New Jersey Congresswoman LaMonica McIver is standing there just giving the business. She knows the things. Don't you try and tell her. She's given her speech about why it was necessary for them to bum rush the gates at the ICE detention facility in Newark. And I got one report here, and I haven't had it confirmed, that the mayor of Newark, New Jersey, has just been arrested after trying to storm the ICE facility. So it's the mayor, 3 members of Congress, and they're fighting with. I'm watching a video right now on Twitter. They're literally fighting with ICE security guards at the gate. I mean, what the heck? So it's the whole, and I'm watching as the same congresswoman is in people's faces and screaming at them and making a scene. So you know what I say lock the suckers up. Just don't even play. Don't give them grounds. Don't give them any quarter. Just get it done. Just take them down. Let them bond themselves out later and explain themselves to the world. How about that?
Can we have people take IQ tests for taking office? Because I'm tired of idiots like this.
Well, we'd lose half of Congress.
That's true.
And we certainly wouldn't have had a president the last 4 years.
And you know what? There'd probably be some on both sides of the aisle. That would be in trouble.
That's not possible. Yeah, it's true. John from Huntsville did say there's 2 reasons why I don't like statues. Said, number 1, I'm afraid they might fall on top of me. Because when I was a little kid, I actually caused a decent-sized headstone in the cemetery to fall on me. Wow. You know what? That's a big deal, and I know of someone who... Anyway, I'll stop that. And luckily my parents were there to quickly get it off of me. And the second reason is I don't like statues because some people, not at all, worship statues like idols, just admiring it as a historical landmark. I didn't read that very well, but I think I know what he's saying. Okay, John, I get you, man. Gary from Athens says, on the Newark situation, let the inmates out, put ankle monitors on them, make them stay in Newark, see how that goes over. Yeah. That's Gary from Athens, brand new in the text lines too, Barry. Gary, we're glad to have you.
Or, you know what? Yeah, you can, you know what? Take whoever you want out of the prison, but you got to keep them at your place.
At your house.
At your house.
Yeah.
And see how long you like that.
That's right.
Yeah.
And let them babysit your kids.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll be awesome. Take your daughter to the prom. It'll be cool. All the wrong reasons. Here's a couple of other things. So first of all, in the you can't make this stuff up category, I got a piece from the Federalist. Hold it in my calloused former paratrooper hands. So Missouri Senator Eric Schmidt has called on President Trump to fire the chairwoman who was appointed by President Biden to oversee America's 250th celebration. So it's going to be a national big deal, the 200th year celebration, 250th, I'm sorry, celebration bash next year in 2026. He's asking for her to be fired, and I believe she was fired, actually. In fact, I got another article somewhere, but I believe she actually was fired because she is the treasurer, she is the head of the America's 250th birthday celebration, and yet she has been going around telling people that Mexico is her actual country. So the problem is not just politics, it's personal hostility to the United States as exposed in a thread on X by an account called War Room. I follow that one. Rios is her name, Rosie Rios. Rosie Rios says, I'm as much Mexican as I am American during a recent speech. Says, we are the same blood. California, where I was born and raised, it was Mexico. People tend to forget that, but we're in the same land. That was Mexico. And basically what she's doing is saying all those southwestern states stolen from Mexico. And is she a hyphenated American? I don't know. But the bottom line is she's certainly not the person who should be putting together the big bash for the. So all the wrong reasons, right? What is it you're doing in that job? Well, you were a DEI hire, weren't you? Let's be honest. That's why you're there. Nobody thought she's the most patriotic person. Her fervor and love for the United States will certainly carry forward into a celebration for the ages. Nope. She's an anti-American, and there she is leading the way, and she just lost her job. All the wrong reasons. You watching what's happening on college campuses? Right now you got Columbia and you got Brooklyn College are 2 of the epicenters for anti-Israel activism. And as usual, anti-Israel activism while they wear a mask and wrap their faces in their false keffiyehs like they're some kind of, jihadis, and then actually call for jihad. So we got a chaos and a wild brawl breaking out at New York City University on Thursday evening. And then Brooklyn College, 14 people taken into custody there. Videos showing activists all wearing their keffiyehs, like I said, just yelling and swearing as police officers attempt to get it under control. And then the protesters are going, stop shoving everybody, stop shoving. How about this? How about we just shove you until you're right out of the room? Anyway, you've got people having to be arrested. Columbia was awful. All the wrong reasons. Like, what is it? Let me get this point across. If you're here in the United States and you're cheering and jeering and breaking the law on behalf of those who are anti-United States, perhaps you're in it for all the wrong reasons. You see, what you could do is, if you really cared, you could go over there to that place. You could just go to Gaza. We'll buy the plane ticket. You go to Gaza, you embed yourself in them, you assimilate into their culture, and you go ahead and become that advocate for them, knowing full well they will love you when you arrive and put you into the most meaningful positions and just be pleased to have you as a part of their fold. Not. All said and done, you've got all these people in for all the wrong reasons. I did see, by the way, did you see the guy who was arrested at the University of Alabama?
Yeah.
Is leaving?
Yeah, I did see. He's self-deporting, I guess.
I don't know if he's self-deporting or just not fighting it. But yeah, we got the dude that was arrested. Yeah, there he is. Iranian graduate student Alireza Daroudi, arrested at University of Alabama. He says, they don't want me here, so I will go home. Thank you. That's the whole point. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back.
You're listening live to Rightside Radio with Phil Williams. It's hard to go wrong when you're on the right side. Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right.
Alabama and Tennessee syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, covering down on all the issues. And oh yeah, like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, welcome to hour number 2 on a Friday. How did we get to hour? Well, who took hour number 1? Where did it go? That was a fast hour, dude. That was a real fast hour.
I guess the audience took hour 1 away from us.
Apparently they did. I'm in Dipper number 1, all the wrong reasons, and I'll tell you right now, all the wrong reasons are also playing out on my screen. And what's interesting too is I'm going to go ahead and throw CNN into the all the wrong reasons. What is news to them? So right now, all we have seen for the last several, we have dual screens up on the wall right now. I'm looking at on the left side, which is fitting, the CNN screen. On the right side, I'm looking at the Fox News screen. And we keep up with news headlines and all that kind of stuff. CNN has yet to say a thing about what's happening in that Democrat storming of the New Jersey ICE facility. That's an ongoing saga right now. They just arrested the mayor of Newark, literally on the site. He was arrested. And CNN, all they can talk about right now is Trump tariffs and whether Trump will raise taxes on the rich. That's all they've had on the screen now for the last 15 minutes. I have yet to see them even mention the breaking news out of New Jersey. That is just lazy, in my opinion. That is lazy and one-sided. So, yeah, that's messed up.
Well, they know it looks stupid, so they don't want to show it.
Yeah. Oh, look, they switched screens. No, it's to something on Trump tariffs. Okay. Anyway, what we do know is for all the wrong reasons, Democrats are just enamored of illegal aliens right now. It's more than just a fascination. This is a deep-rooted, somehow a bonding in their souls. They need to be with them. It's important. This is why you saw AOC wearing her white outfit move to such emotion as she stood at the gate and clutched it and brought tears to her eyes. Yeah. And then she didn't cry a bit when it was during the Trump administration. It was during the Biden administration. But we're watching right now just an absolute gross injustice, a travesty, as we see the left continuing to just flaunt the law and pretend that wrong is right and right is wrong. All the wrong reasons. Hey, speaking of all the wrong reasons, so I'll get a bunch of text messages here in a minute, but let me tell you this. In a story that I don't think is getting near enough play, I pulled this off of Woke Spy. Woke Spy Dateline yesterday. So this dude that has become like the cause celeb, he's the poster boy. He is the idol to which they bow. Kilbar Abrego Garcia, the illegal alien from Maryland. You know, the Maryland father, the dad, the good dude, the resident of Maryland. No, the illegal alien who has been here since 2011 in illegal status, who, by the way, was arrested by ICE in 2019 and then put out on detainer. Well, we have some new information about that thing about him doing human trafficking. Remember that thing where he got stopped in Tennessee? So, what?
No, so yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just agree with me.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
I thought you had some chiming in there. Mm-hmm. So you may remember that when he was stopped, Tennessee Highway Patrol pulled him over a few years ago during the Biden years. Tennessee Highway Patrol pulled him over driving a 2001 Chevy Silverado. It has now been proven that 2001 Chevy Silverado belonged to another man named Ramon Hernandez Reyes. Ramon Hernandez Reyes is a convicted human trafficker. A convicted human trafficker who, by the way, is actually serving time right now in the Federal Correctional Institution in Talladega, Alabama. So Ramon Hernandez Reyes, this guy, Abrego Garcia, said that the vehicle belonged to his boss. Well, it did. Reyes is now confirmed. We now have confirmation that Reyes says he indeed hired Abrego Garcia to transport illegals from Texas to other parts of the country, as the officer on the scene suspected. But the officer on the scene, in accordance with protocol, because it was a potential federal issue, contacted the FBI and was directed by the FBI to let them go. They had 8 people in the vehicle. 8. None of those 8 people had luggage. None of those 8 people had anything but the address of Abrego Garcia's house as their alleged residence. And so we now have the convicted smuggler in prison saying he met Abrego Garcia as far back as 2015. They worked together for many years, and that yes, he was getting paid to tote illegals around the nation for me. And that's who they're rushing down to see. That's what happens when you're in it for all the wrong reasons. They're not there because they're worried about whether or not illegal immigration is a thing. They're not really worried about whether Abrego Garcia is being mistreated in prison, because we know he's not. They're not really worried about whether he was a criminal who was trafficking people, because they don't care about that. All they care about is get Trump. And so they've got to do something to try and make Trump look bad. Now, will the media report this? The mainstream media is not going to say boo about it. The mainstream media is already blown by. By the way, I'm watching on the screen, and the left, all they're doing is, the left screen, CNN's, all they're doing still is Trump floats raising taxes on the rich. No. They've got the Biden former White House communications on there to provide commentary. What does that tell you?
What a riveting story that is.
All the wrong reasons. All right, listen, I'll get a few text messages and wrap this up. But yeah, I would say this. Democrats right now have made a series of bad choices. They're going to have to live with them. I say we make them live with them. Like, I don't know, make them live with them like every single day. Like, take the images, keep the receipts, mail them to their house. I mean, good gosh. Dave from Capshaw says the May 9th attackers should be treated like the January 6th protesters. Oh, toss them in a cell. There's a separate, I just realized he had a separate text, says, regarding the Democrats storming the ICE prison, they should be tossed in a cell with the prisoners, if not accidentally. Okay, I'm not going down that road. Thank you, Dave. Getting a little carried away, bro. Chris from Gadsden says, I guess that woman forgot that Mexico stole the land from the native peoples. Point well taken, sir. John N. from Huntsville says, regarding that 250th celebration of the United States, recall that the leader of the 200th, Lee Iacocca, was truly red, white, and blue. Indeed, reminds me of one of the times when Joe the Great Plagiarist was encouraged to title his autobiography Iacocca. John N. from Huntsville again today. That's awesome. John N., thank you so much. Dana from Athens says, I'll be the chair for the celebration. Okay, I nominate Dana. Dana from Athens.
I second that.
Dana, we are assuming you're not an illegal. We're assuming you don't claim Mexico as your actual heritage. We're assuming you actually love this country. So thank you very much. We'll let you know if we hear back. Jeff from Indiana says, Phil, last time I checked, if you got caught driving with an invalid driver's license, they don't just let you drive away. I'm guessing nobody in that car had a valid driver's license, so how come the car wasn't towed? That's what would have been done to you and me. I agree. Listen, man, do I have an explanation for it? No, I don't. What are you laughing about? I see you laughing.
I'm laughing at JT from Lacey Springs test. He just sent in, it's a picture. It says, breaking news, gun manufacturers plan to rebrand the AR-15 as MS-13 so Democrats won't ban them.
I love this audience. Bruce from Springville says, when the Congress members stormed through the gates, why didn't the guards do their duty and open fire? I have no explanation for you, sir. I don't know. I was not there. Kim from Danville says, just an idea. Let's leave those Congress members locked in the guard shack. No food, no water. If they want to mingle among the MS-13 members, more power to them. That's right. And no bathroom facilities, too. Thank you very much. Bobby from Huntsville says, what is he saying? If those Democrats wanted in that facility so bad now they're in there, leave them there. I get it. I say so. And then Mike from Athens says that would be hilarious if they left the protesters in there over the weekend. I'm sorry. You're not supposed to be here. We're working out what to do. Hang tight. We'll get with you Monday when the new shift comes in. TC from Priceville sent me a meme. Oh, somebody's already taken a picture of the statue from Times Square and turned it into the epic scene from the end of Planet of the Apes. The new statue of No Liberty. All right, we're going to take a break right now. We'll take that break. We'll come right back, and I will get a few more text messages and take us to the bottom of the hour, at which point we will jump to JP on sports. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Pulling pins on truth grenades. Several text messages that I'll get, and then I'll be jumping on the phones here momentarily. Bama Grant from Huntsville. Bama Grant says, let those lawmakers stay barricaded in there as they are already there where they belong. See how long they last till they need food and water. Well, that's just it. Everybody in there is getting food and water anyway, so let's let them go in the general population and see how that goes. Penny from Athens says that statue could have been Lizzo before coffee. I don't know. Hey, Connor from Huntsville says, I vote for letting the New Jersey representatives stay there and find them a bed. They get 3 squares. They can't do as much damage there as they apparently have done to New Jersey. Great show, by the way. Appreciate it. Bye. Thanks, Connor. And then Mike from Harvest. I'm not sure what he's referring to, but thank you very much, Mike. We're glad to have you in the mix. I know, by the way, that Rumble was down earlier. Is Rumble still down?
That's what it's back up. That's what he was.
Okay. Oh, that was you two talking. Mm-hmm. I got you. All right. Several more text messages in there that I'll come back to, but let me go to the phones right now. Who's that? Is that Kareem? Kareem from Huntsville. Hey, buddy, how are you?
Hey, Phil.
You doing all right?
I heard Dell's show this morning when he was talking about the statue.
Okay.
And I didn't have time to go look at it. Then, when I got in the car, I'm listening to y'all, go pick up my granddaughter, and I'm listening. So I said, let me look at the statue, see what they're talking about. And I hate to be this person, but I'm trying to find out what's wrong with that statue.
It means nothing.
They don't have to mean anything. They just put it there.
It doesn't have to mean
she's Harriet Tubman or anything of significance. They just put it there.
Well, then let me
and I'm
ask you
looking
this.
at it, I'm like, she looked like my sister. She looked like my aunt. She looked like how my mom's used to look. I'm really trying to find a punchline. Then when I hear people, and I don't want to make it about race because that's going to cheapen the whole thing.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm just saying, when people say, Planet of the Apes, that's Aunt Jemima, people have very little self-awareness.
Let me ask you this.
Understand. I'm like, that's just horrible.
All right, so let me ask you this. So my whole point in talking about this statue was, it's a statue to nothingness, and they admit that. It's a statue to nothingness. It's not of anybody in particular. It's not there for any other reason except to, I don't know, make people go, why is that statue there? But every other monument typically has something that we appreciate that is being honored by having built the statue, and this one seems to have nothing attached to it. So why are we wasting time putting a 12-foot statue of a frumpy-looking woman in Times Square? What's the point?
Well, you got to understand this. I can understand it. This is still Times Square, New York City, liberal central. So that's why they would do something like that. They wouldn't do it in Alabama.
Oh, okay.
Or Huntsville or something like that. It's just New York City.
So you're saying New York be in New York is what you're saying?
Yeah, it's a New York thing. So to have everybody else get all bent out of shape about it, and I'm thinking this statue had to be hideous. And I'm looking, I was like, that looks like my aunt. That looks like my sister.
You got to admit, if in fact there was a model for that statue, she did not bother to get dressed up for the occasion. She just like rolled out of bed, threw on her dirty clothes, and tied on a pair of old Keds and came down.
Showing them in true form and showing herself in true form.
I just think it's a waste of time and effort. How much does that thing cost? Why is it even there? And what does it even honor? And why would we even have it? And when there's so many other things that we could have done with our time and resources.
Artist named Michelangelo David or something like that. It sounds like a made up name.
By the way, people are comparing it. Let me ask you this though: people are comparing it to Michelangelo's David in terms of its importance. Do you believe that?
No, it don't have any importance. I'm just looking at it. I'm like, they just made a statue of my sister.
Well, okay, you know what? If your sister's a hero, I want a statue of her. But if this is just like some kind of schlump statue, I say get rid of it.
It's just a little move that they do with, like, if they fighting or about to fight or something like that, they throw their hands on their hips. You know what I'm saying? Put their chest up like, what's up? Come on with it. That's what I'm seeing.
Why do we want that though? What's the point? Why do we want the woman who looks like she's trying to give her boss the business right now?
Everybody, I think people attaching themselves to it because they need. I don't know.
She looks like she's questioning the checkout clerk at the fast food place who didn't have enough ketchup. I mean, she looks like she's just got this attitude. Like why do we need that? Right? What's the point of putting attitude on display?
I mean, that's some black women in true form, right there. the hands on the hips that poke the chest out. Show your curves, the little tight jeans on, got her hair slicked back. That's what it is.
I got news. Those jeans weren't made for her. She's wearing her sister's jeans. Just saying.
That's always the case.
right, man. I got to go. You have a great day. We'll see you,
All
man.
right.
Take care.
All right, you too.
All right. That's funny. Listen, I got a couple of I got a couple of text messages I want to get before I go to the breaks. I had to get that done. All right. So Diana from Huntsville. Diana from Huntsville says, who paid for that statue? God knows. I have no idea. It was sponsored. I'd already discarded my notes, but it was sponsored by some arts foundation. So I don't know if they paid for it or if they paid to bring it in. I don't know what the deal is. All I know is it's what? You got something to say on that?
I was gonna say, I don't think this would be such an issue with people if we didn't just experience a couple of years ago all of the statues of our founding fathers being attacked and pulled
Well, that's
down.
a great point.
And so now it seems like a provocation almost of, we're gonna take down the statues of George Washington, Jefferson, all these, but we're gonna flaunt and put up this meaningless statue. I think that's where we're offended from. I think that's what it is.
I'm going to pretend that somewhere behind the scenes I had that thought and just forgot to say it.
Yeah.
No, good. What a great point. Yeah, that is a great point. So you're right. I mean, we saw statues of founding fathers, like you said, Christopher Columbus.
Yeah.
We saw statues of Abraham Lincoln, of all things. We saw statues of even Frederick Douglass and other. It was like tearing down anything that looked like it. Maybe the man. It was nuts. And yet here we are, putting up the grumpy attitude woman who looks like she's just, mad because they didn't give her a supersize of her drink at the McDonald's.
If all those statues were still up, I'd agree with Kareem. It's just like, oh, that's just a weird New York statue, whatever. But it's the other one's taken down and that one going up. I think that's where the issue is with most people.
In fact, they even took down, what was it they took down? Was it Jefferson in the New York City Library?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, just nuts.
Because they were all slave owners, so they were all racist.
Just, I still love that. That's my favorite text of the day, though. that basically when the birds crap on it, somebody's going to call it racist.
Yeah.
Bobby from Huntsville says New York's version of Grumpy Cat. Matthew from Washington says, by the way, sorry, I forgot to. Oh, wait, hang on. Says, hello, Phil and JP. Happy Friday. I missed the first hour of your show, but I'm listening now. Guess what came in yesterday? Oh, hey. Man, Matthew from Washington wearing his Rightside Ruffian shirt. Listen, man, that is awesome. Give me some applause on that for Matthew from yes. Thank you very much. Our Rightside Ruffian friend wearing his hat and his shirt. That is like way cool. All right, folks, we're taking a break. Coming back with JP on sports. We are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Y'all, I'm talking about this show. It literally goes from like Huntsville back over to Chattanooga. I'm talking about from Tuscaloosa back to Gadsden. Down to that lovely little village on the plains we call Auburn, and straight across the border from there to what we now get to once again call Fort Benning. Fort Benning! And then, oh, by the way, big old patches of North Georgia and Mississippi thrown in just for good measure. And that's just the radio. So, yeah, thank you to all of our online audience as well. We love you. All you people all over the place. Hey, by the way, I got a text message real quick. I got to tell you, Chris from Sterrett, Alabama says, I vote for a statue of JP in Times Square wearing equipment from every sport possible.
I'm all for that. I'm all for that.
Speaking of JP, we're going to jump off of talking politics and policy and all the things that happen in culture wars. And every Friday we do a thing we call JP on Sports. JP brings his prolific, and I mean prolific, knowledge of all things sports, and even weaves some culture into it just to make sure that it stays, happening. But yeah, we call this JP on Sports 2 rounds. First round is called the 3 and Out. He gives us the top 3 stories. We come back from the break and we do the 2-minute warning where I've got a timer and a buzzer and it's 2 minutes on each story that he wants to run with. It's also all brought to you by our friends at Inspire Advisors, and I'll tell you more about them in just a few minutes. He's got his own sound effect, courtesy of sorority girls from Auburn. Play it. It's so good, man.
It is.
It just makes me smile every time. All right, 3 and Out, JP on Sports. What do you got?
Well, the NBA playoffs are starting to ramp up. We got the series are getting more contested in my opinion, but what's really funny is, so the Celtics have now blown 2 20-point leads against the Knicks in their series. So now they're down 0-2 when
20-point leads.
2 20-point leads back to back. So they're digging themselves a hole, the defending champs. But I think they're still talented.
Somebody's throwing a game somewhere.
Nah, it's just, listen, the Knicks are good. The Knicks are giving them a run for their money. So I think that series could be a Game 7 series, in my opinion. I think the Celtics will end up coming back. But we also got the Timberwolves and the Warriors, which got way more interesting because Anthony Edwards, which some people are saying should be in the MVP running, he actually got hurt in the last game. So a lot of question marks around if he's going to be able to come back. That would go a long way in determining who's going to win that series. Then we also got the Cavs up 2-0 on the Pacers, and then the Thunder and Nuggets are at 1-1. So yeah, right now we're starting to see the teams starting to separate themselves. Who are going to make a run for the championship at the end of the year. But right now, I don't know. The Knicks are playing really good. And you may have to look out for the Knicks, try to make a run. But also, the Thunder are really hard to beat at the West too. So, but yeah, a lot of great series is going on right now.
All right, NBA playoffs, big deals. So that's number 1. And you think 2 20-point leads in a row doesn't mean somebody's trying to? Never mind.
Nah, I don't think so. I won't go there yet.
All right.
If they do another one, then maybe.
Yeah, somebody's throwing in the towel. All right, number 2, what do you got?
So this is a very interesting story. So if everyone remembers, Trump was in Alabama. What was it, last week he was?
Yes.
I think it was last week. And apparently he met with Saban, either before or after the graduation ceremony at Alabama. Also, Tuberville met with him as well. There's a picture of Tuberville sitting on Air Force One talking to Trump. Apparently they were talking NIL. But after that, it's now emerged that apparently Nick Saban is going to be co-chair of a commission on college sports that Trump is enacting. My first reaction or thought is, what is this commission? What kind of authority do they have? I think you mentioned a great example of they have the ambassadors to Hollywood from the White House. If it's going to be the same sort of ordeal as that, I don't know though, because there's been a lot of talk about a commissioner for college football because it's just at the point where the NCAA isn't doing its job leading. And they need sort of an NFL model, like a Roger Goodell type of figure, to enforce rules for college football only. And a lot of people said Nick Saban should be that guy, or but maybe a former coaches panel or something. So I don't know necessarily what sort of role he's going to play in this commission. I know one thing though, he'll have Trump's ear in terms of NIL and being able to enforce some actual action from the executive branch on this stuff. There's also rumors that Trump was thinking about writing an executive order in terms of NIL. So I don't know what that would look like either. But all I know is I think this is a step in the right direction. That I'm glad that Saban and Tuberville were able to use Trump being down in Alabama to talk to him about NIL.
Yeah,
because something's got to be done. So who knows? Who knows what else? Who else will be on this commission for college sports, or will it be just specific to college football, or just all college sports, basketball, baseball too? So I'm not. I think it's a little too early to know exactly what they'll be doing, but I think, like I said, Saban, being able to talk to Trump on this is a big step in the right direction.
Can I have 10 seconds of time on it?
Yeah.
All right, 10 seconds of time. Just the bottom line is I think an executive order is going to be tough because you're intervening in people's contracts. The only executive order I could see him doing would be to direct that certain things begin to take place or develop a plan. Otherwise, he'll take certain actions. But I don't think he can just immediately interpose himself in people's NIL contracts. That would just be a total lawsuit mess.
Yeah, and that's why I was a bit confused or curious as to how they would go about it, because it's got to be really specific, like you said. Like it can't just be like a blanket. NIL has to be like it has to be like specific in terms of whether it's collectives or if it's contract rules or whether it's players can't have certain representation until they're a certain age, or else they'll be exploited to get have bad decisions or whatever. I don't know, but I think it's very encouraging that Trump is willing to actually do something about it. And talk to guys like Saban and Tuberville, because I think I mentioned before, Schumer apparently told Tuberville, it's like, well, yeah, no hope of getting anything done unless there's a union for college athletes. It's like, that's ridiculous. So I think it's very encouraging to have Trump, the president of the United States, willing to do something to help it, because he cares about, what's going on in college sports. So I think this is a big step in the right direction, but more to come. Let's see if Saban being the chair of this.
So you're saying Saban's a Republican now?
I don't think he's maybe a woke Democrat anymore.
All right, man, that's 2. What's 3?
So MLB season is still cranking up. There's sort of a rule of don't even look at the standings in MLB until Memorial Day, which Memorial Day is like 2 or 3 weeks away. So we're starting to reach that point where we're kind of seeing where teams are, because to start the year, there's a lot of waves up and down. It's hard to tell tell what from what, but as we're getting into the summer, it looks like teams are starting to come into their own a little bit, and the perfect team that's doing that is the Braves right now, because the Braves went up 0-7 to start the season. No team has ever made the playoffs after starting 0-7.
0-7.
Especially with all the high anticipation to start the year. It was really shocking and concerning, but the Braves are 18-19 now, so they're cranking back up to 500. They're third place in the NL East right now, and the Braves haven't even gotten their star player Ronald Acuna back from injury last year. So as a Braves fan, I think it's very encouraging to see they're starting to get momentum going as we're reaching Memorial Day and about to go into the summer, and they haven't even gotten their star player back yet. So I think it's all encouraging signs. They got a walk-off win last night against the Reds. They got a series coming up this weekend against the Pirates, which is another great opportunity to sweep the Pirates, because the Pirates are awful. But we'll see. I think the reports right now is that Acuna will be back late May, so around perfect timing going into the summer. I think all things are pointing to positive signs for the Braves right now, but fingers crossed. Baseball is a long season. A lot of bad things can happen. But I think right now it's encouraging to see what's going on in Atlanta.
All right, so we got time, so let me ask you this. I hear about the Braves, and they're coming back from their 0-7, but who do you see out there that is their serious, like their peer-to-peer contention right now? Who's their next adversary that they've got to deal with in order to advance?
I mean, the Dodgers are just running baseball right now. The Dodgers won the World Series last year. They set a record for how much they spent on players again this year.
Oh, yeah, they did.
So it's it's hard to beat the Dodgers, because the Dodgers, they got Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman. Just go down the list. Any sort of star you could think of, it looks like is getting bought up by the Dodgers. So as of right now, it's the Dodgers' World Series to lose, especially being defending champs. Like I said. It's just it's hard to see anybody else to contend with the Dodgers. I mean, the Yankees, who they played in the World Series last year, are probably a close second to the Dodgers. But also the Mets have been playing really well to start this year. The Mets had a surprise playoff run last year, so they're having another great season this year. But like I said, a lot of teams flash in the pan, go down, and until we reach around the summer mark, you can really see like a realistic. All right, these are the teams that are gonna make a run for it. But right now it's just the Dodgers. It's rather annoying, to be honest with you, because I really,
Spoken like a true Braves fan.
well, it's because now they're just encouraged and incentivized to keep just writing blank checks to people and saying, But who knows? Well, maybe eventually we'll get a salary cap. But until then, the Dodgers will just run baseball. It looks like.
Run baseball and print money.
I know, and it's Shohei Ohtani. What is it? $750 million contract for 10 years.
Oh my God!
It's like filthy money. It's not even fair.
Filthy money. All right, that's a 3 and out. That's round 1 with JP on sports. We'll take a break right now. We'll come back for round number 2. We call the 2-minute warning. I've got a timer and a buzzer, and we'll just run 2-minute segments. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Just saving the world one soundbite at a time. All right, we're going to go to round number 2 of JP on Sports. And don't forget, it is brought to you by Inspire Advisors. And I'll tell you about Inspire Advisors more here in just a few minutes. All right, I got a timer. Let me get it ready. Are we ready to go? 2-minute warnings. Dude, go.
So I saw John from Huntsville wants hockey playoff talk, so I'll give him hockey playoff talk.
Aha!
We got the Oilers are currently up 2-0 on the Golden Knights. We also got the Capitals and the Hurricanes at 1-1. The Maple Leafs are up 2-0 on the Panthers, and then finally we got the Dallas Stars who are up 1-0 on the Winnipeg Jets. But I have to say, I'm not a massive hockey guy. However, I think the Stanley Cup is the greatest trophy in sports, and also I think it is the most exciting final series. Like the Stanley Cup hockey finals, I think is the most exciting championship in sports. Have you ever seen the tradition that the Stanley Cup or the hockey guys do after win the Stanley Cup? Everybody gets to hold the Stanley Cup and take a lap around the rink. You know, everybody from the starters to everybody on the bench as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like I said, I'm not a massive hockey guy. However, I always try to tune in for the Stanley Cup because I think that is the greatest trophy in sports.
It may be the biggest trophy in sports.
It is
too.
the biggest trophy in sports as well. But yeah, I have to admit I have not watched much hockey playoffs, but it's coming near that time. I may have to tune in and start watching as we get closer to the Stanley Cup championship there.
How much of and how much of, and by the way, it's kind of cool is it's a cross-border sport. I know baseball has a little bit of that too, but there's more of that in hockey, isn't there?
Oh yeah, the Canadian teams are pretty dominant, or at least they have been in the past. I think that's starting to change a little bit. But also I have to say too, the last hockey game I watched was U.S. versus Canada. I mean that was a fun series there. So I think NHL is starting to do fun stuff like that to get more people tuned in regularly.
That was fun stuff, but that one had some angst tied to it too.
Which is what made it fun.
That's exactly right. All right, you came in under the wire. Let me stop and reset the clock then. You had a few seconds to spare there. So ready, round 2-minute warning, go.
So I don't know if you saw this. I think we talked a little bit about it off air, but there was a hearing earlier this week. If you remember the story with USA Fencing where Stephanie Turner took the knee when she was going up against a male and refused to compete against him. And there was a lot
of male who thinks he's a female.
Yes, there's a lot of drama around it, not just because of that, but people started to look into the chair of USA Fencing. This guy named Damian Leffeld. Man, I wouldn't want that guy anywhere near my daughters if I had him. He is a creep, and he made some Instagram posts, making fun of people who are emailing him. Concerned parents were emailing him about males participating in the sport against their daughters, and he was posting pictures, screenshots of the email, and posting them on social media and mocking them about it. So this guy is a can of worms. Like he is a real creep. Anyways, he went to testify before Congress alongside with Stephanie Turner.
They wore him out.
And there's actually Marjorie Taylor Greene put up a screenshot. Apparently, the morning before he went to testify, he put a picture, it said game day, and he was flicking off the camera as if he doesn't care about this at all, sort of thing. But anyways, it's Stephanie Turner openly to his face, or not to his face, but he was on the same table, said that she doesn't want an apology from him. She wants true policy change, and he was all Marjorie Taylor Greene really gave it to him as well. But it's a story that needs to be amplified, and even if there's not true policy change on this yet, I think it needs to open people's eyes that guys like Damian Leffeld are in charge of organizations that these people's kids take part in.
Yeah.
And it shook me up. I can't believe the USA Fencing chair is mocking parents for concerned about him letting guys go up against their daughters. So who knows? Maybe this will kickstart some change.
With like 5 seconds in there, was he at all remorseful during the hearing at all?
He said, I think all he said was he could have gone about it differently, but no, there was no really remorse at all.
There's a buzzer. Okay, wow, that just ticks me off to even think about it. All right, so it's bad enough that it happened. Now we got to look at the guy mocking people for caring.
Yeah.
All right, let me reset the clock real quick. 2-minute warning. Go.
So this one's kind of on the same thread as the last discussion about trans dudes and girls sports, or not even trans dudes, just dudes and girls sports. This girl Kate Fagan. So I don't know if you watch much of the sports show Around the Horn, which has been around for a long time. Anyways, it's coming near its end, and they decided to bring this girl Kate Fagan on, who was one of the original members of the show. And the show format is you end the show with a 1-minute sort of monologue of your choice in terms of sports. She decided to give her monologue about trans kids and guys participating in girls' sports, and basically went on a tirade talking about how trans kids deserve to participate in sports just like anybody else, and going on these morally righteous tirade on ESPN. It's not shocking, of all places, talking about this. But I find it funny, though, because the same day, Charles Barkley, who is her colleague, openly said that he thinks anyone who is in support of men playing in women's sports is stupid. And it was nice to see that, to see somebody in the talk, any of the talking heads in sports right now openly calling out this craziness and this mockery of guys playing in women's sports. It's, I don't know, ESPN likes to put these people on a pedestal because they're Disney owned. People like Kate Fagan, who like to virtue signal or whatever to people. It's refreshing to see old players like Charles Barkley, the ones who really their opinion should matter over others, openly mocking it and calling it out, because I think that's the only way it gets fixed, is if it gets openly mocked and called out. That was really refreshing to see.
So when does Charles Barkley get appointed to be with Nick Saban on the commission?
I'm all for it. Put Charles up there with him. Tuberville, Saban, and Charles. I think they'd all do a great job.
Listen, I think there's a Saturday morning show there somewhere.
And who knows?
There it is. All right, reset the clock. Do we have time? Go for it.
We have time for a mini dipper here.
Get it.
We got a UFC pay-per-view coming up this weekend. We got a title match between Bilal Muhammad and Jack Del Mandela. You see, the UFC names are the most obscure names of them all. But yeah, we got a title match, welterweight title match this weekend. But the main thing to watch this weekend is, so this match will determine who Islam Makhachev's next match will be, because Bilal Muhammad may fight, and I don't expect you to know who this guy's.
I feel like you're making names up.
Islam Makhachev may be fighting Bilal Muhammad for the 170 belt if he wins. However, if he loses, then Islam Makhachev will be fighting Ilia Topuria at 155, confirmed by Dana White earlier this week. So it is big for that matter, and there's not much. Bilal Muhammad is not a guy that a bunch of people are a fan of, but I think that is add intrigue to the match of what's going to happen next at 155. So it's another big pay-per-view this weekend with a lot of implications on it.
So Bananarama is going to fight.
Bananarama's on the undercard, actually.
All I know is I need to tell the audience that you sat there and did all that without notes, and that you were literally quoting those names that I don't think are even real, but without even looking at anything. So, all right, that's JP on sports. Good stuff, man. Appreciate you. We'll come right back. I'll tell you about Inspire Advisors, the sponsor of JP on sports, and then we'll move into Dipper number dos. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back.
Test.
You're listening live to Rightside Radio with Phil Williams. It's hard to go wrong when you're on the right side. Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right.
Alabama and Tennessee syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, sometimes the international, and oh yeah, like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, welcome to hour number 3 on a Friday. It's a Friday. Man, we're getting y'all all the way to go home time on a Friday afternoon. So stand by. We got more to talk about. Before I go any further, though, I got to tell you, JP on Sports, which I thoroughly enjoy. It's not only are you listen, I'm bragging on you. Just brace yourself.
Okay.
I don't do it every day.
Yeah.
But not only are you good at that, but it also gives me a break. I get to actually just enjoy myself for a few minutes and just
Sit back, kick your feet up.
That's right. No, good stuff, man.
Thanks.
Hey, JP on Sports, though, is brought to you every Friday by our friends at Inspire Advisors. Inspire Advisors. Listen, Paul Breyer and his team at Inspire Advisors, they are good at what they do, and what they do is they help you to not only get a great return on your investment and build your bottom line investments up, but they do it with what they call biblically responsible investing. It's a real thing. So biblically responsible investing basically means they help you to sort out using those Christian values that so many of us carry and make sure that you're not investing in woke companies that are anti-Christian or anti-American or anti-just conservative values. They will help you see what you're investing in and still do so effectively. Inspire Advisors. If you want to know more about them, their website is, you ready for this? Their website is moneypatternwealth.com. That's Inspire Advisors at www.moneypatternwealth.com. And tell them you heard about it on Rightside Radio, sponsor of JP on Sports. All right, before I jump into the next thing, I got to catch up on some text messages because y'all are awesome. Tim from Gurley says, did you catch Kareem's beginning of his call? He said, I was listening to Phil Jackson's, well, I think he meant Dale Jackson.
He said Dale. I got a vouch for Kareem there. I think he said Dale.
Okay. I heard Dale.
Yeah.
Matt from Madison said, but by the way, he listens to all the conservative shows. Have you noticed that?
Oh, yeah. I took his call several times when I worked for Dale,
There
too.
you go.
So, hey, maybe we're wearing on him.
By the way, I did go ahead and make sure that JP had like a 7-month beta test, and then I stole him away from Dale Jackson.
Yeah.
I noticed that Dale hadn't had me on the show a whole lot since then. Matt from Madison said about that statue again. It's a statue. Well, hang on a second. No, I want to read this. No, I'm not. David from Bucky's says, Phil, JP, NIL and the transfer portal has completely destroyed college sports. Gone are the days where commitment, dedication, and loyalty. Besides, how does an 18-year-old enter into a contract in Alabama? Well, they have to have their parents sign with them. That's just it. And they have to get agents. And I mean, there's a whole cottage industry brewing up around this thing. And then on top of that, you're right, David. On top of that, here's the thing. High school and college sports was always the aspirational time of sports. It was when you were an amateur. You were not in paid status. You were playing for the love of the game. You were playing for the hope of moving up to the big leagues one day. You were playing for the right to be seen as part of a team and do a great job. And what we're losing now with NIL and the portal is, in my opinion, it used to always be about the team. Now it's all about the individual. How much can I get? What's in it for me? What do you got over there? I'll go to you instead of sticking with the guys who brought me. And I just find a big problem with that.
And he also mentioned with your parents, having to sign with you and get a situation like we just saw with Nico Imaliava.
Oh, yeah.
We get a crazy, greedy dad who goes, son, you can get more money over here. And now he's playing on a worse team for like a quarter of the money he was originally getting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he looks like a fool doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, he was playing in the SEC.
Mm-hmm. Starter quarterback, Tennessee, just took him to the playoffs.
Kevin from Huntsville says, talking about baseball, have you seen this photo artist? And he puts up a meme. What is it? Okay. All right.
He said he collects images of walk-off home runs and rounding third base. But I've seen this. The title is something like "What It Looks Like to Come Into Heaven," and it's a kind of a cool little twist on it. Yeah.
So is it a true? Like he actually is a portrait made of a true event?
Oh yeah, and I don't think it's Kevin, this guy, but there's a artist out there who takes photographs of walk-off home runs from this angle and says it's like what it looks like going into heaven.
That's kind of cool, actually. In case y'all can't see it, you're welcome to put it up if you want to. But in case y'all can't see this kind of thing, what we're looking at is the guy's rounding third, and his entire team, and maybe even some coaches are all standing at the plate, cheering and welcoming him into the home plate. That's very cool. I like that. I love the idea of that's what it's like to be welcomed into heaven. That's cool. Badger from Athens sends me something. It's a brand new series for Disney Network called Maryland Dad, and it has the guy with tattoos all over his face and his family, and she's got a black eye, and they're just, yeah, it's awesome. Oh, boy. John from Huntsville says, JP, look up Alabama's most unusual monuments. I had no idea we had so many weird monuments. The Boll Weevil Monument is very weird. It is. And by the way, in Cherokee County, Alabama, they have a giant crappie because it's the crappie capital of the world. In Cherokee County.
Why would a city want to be called the crappie?
Crappie.
Yeah.
Last one, and then we'll go to the next stuff. Actually, two more. Chris from Gadsden checking in. He says, this is funny. He says, time taken to get picked. New Pope, 2 days. Shador Sanders, 3 days.
That's funny.
You got to admit that's funny.
Yeah, it is.
And then Herb from Gurley says, I'm waiting for a better offer for my little leaguer. Hold out, Dad. Hold out for more money for your little guy. Going to have to unionize the little leagues. All right, hey, we're going to jump into another topic, and I'm bringing in a dude. I'm bringing in a dude you all know and love. The Butterman is in studio with us right now. Butters, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great.
Did you have a day with family yesterday?
Yes, it was a sports day, speaking of the topic.
Did you hold out for more money on NIL for your daughter?
No.
I mean, girls' high school soccer is big doings.
Yes, it is. It's a lot of fun. We went up to Huntsville. Unfortunately, our Southside girls, it was the Final Four for the state, but they gave it a great effort, and ended up being like 90 degrees. I don't think anybody was prepared for that, including all the parents. So
get the IV bags out.
Yeah. But hey, champs, we had one girl that lost her cookies out on the field. She was pressing hard, run over the sideline, open up the trash can, and she was back on the field in just a few minutes. I'm like, okay, all right, get some.
Listen, I watched my son playing football in practice. And literally throw up in the huddle, and the whole huddle just like, oh, and they all just kind of like moved the huddle over, and they just kept going. He never came off the field. He just threw up in the huddle, and then they moved over a few feet and kept playing. But anyway, luckily it was real grass. So it probably burned it out, actually. But all right, so we're going to start a new topic, and Butters is here. I actually texted him and said, hey, man, you being a retired naval aviator, because that, by the way, people don't realize, Butters is not your nickname; it was your call sign.
Yes, indeed. The Gray Wolves, the VAQ 142, was my fleet squadron, and some great dudes gave me that call sign.
All right, so I'm going to digress here for a moment. How is there a ceremony? How does the call sign? Who chooses the call sign? Who assigns the call sign? And then that moniker is now with you forever and ever. Amen.
In the Navy, it's typically what is going to be most degrading.
Most degrading?
Yeah, preferably based on...
so the whole Maverick Iceman thing is out.
No, yeah. You see some of that in the Air Force, but no, that's... I can't really discuss the call signs that I worked around. But
were they actually on the helmets? Everybody had to stick
Oh,
with
yeah.
them? Okay,
I've still got my helmet with Butters, all stenciled on the
So who gave you the call sign?
Was one of the senior junior officers who just was like, you look like Butters off of South Park. And so they after I'd been there for a while, and I guess I didn't do anything stupider, so they threw that out and a couple other ones I can't say on the radio, and they chose. I mean, the more you fight it, the more likely it is that's the one you're going to get. So I'm blessed and thankful to have some great dudes that dubbed me Butters.
Okay, so as long as we're chasing a rabbit, what is one of the best call signs? Like you saw it, and you thought everybody wishes they had that call sign. That was awesome. Like Maverick. Is there one out there you look at and go, wow, that dude actually he got one to be proud of.
Not that I can talk about on the radio.
Okay. All right. Hey, listen, I got Butters in here because my next topic, I'm skipping forward on the triple dipper here to fly the friendly skies. And I figured being an aviator, he might have some thoughts. And I will just say this, we're going to be talking largely about air traffic control. If we chase a rabbit here and there, still the focus is air traffic control because the Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, former congressman, now a secretary, he came out, I think it was yesterday, and he said, look, we've got a new report, and this new report clearly indicates that the Biden administration had all the evidence in their hands of how antiquated, out of date, and basically at risk our air traffic control systems are around the entire nation. I've got a piece here. Let me grab it real quick. I got a piece here that I hold in my calloused former paratrooper hands from the New York Post. The U.S. experiences 1,000 air traffic control failures each week due to ancient equipment, with more and more expected. So air traffic controllers, it says, are facing about 1,000 equipment failures per week. Without a serious overhaul of the ancient systems, some airline industry insiders tell the Post we could have some serious problems. So anyway, the Trump administration says, and Secretary Duffy unveiled, the effort is underway now to do a 3-year complete overhaul of air traffic control systems in the United States. You had any experiences, like harrowing experiences, where ATC was saying, sorry, systems are down, do a flyby?
So in full disclosure, it's been close to about 15 years since I've actually been in the cockpit on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And it was old then. And I was in an airplane that was much, much older, so most of the problems were usually on our end.
You were a Prowler guy.
But yeah, I mean, I know. I mean, I want to couch all of this under the whole infrastructure, right? Of our, I mean, roads, sewer systems. I mean, that's what this air traffic control system. They've been working on that forever. The bureaucracy of just making decisions, that goes back a long time. And then yeah, I mean, the radar systems, the comm systems. I mean, the fact they're still using paper tapes to. But
you add to that the stress of the job. I mean, if you're at a high traffic airport, I mean, you look at like Reagan National, the event with that plane hitting the Black Hawk helicopter. You look at Newark. You look at Hartsfield International over in Atlanta. I mean, I've heard that's one of the most stressful jobs in the United States is working in the tower at a major airport like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I was one of my fun jobs in the Navy, helping manage an approach control facility. So all of those type of controllers in some really busy airspace with student pilots for the Navy. So it was even more fun trying to keep them from not hitting each other. And those guys, mad respect to the air traffic controllers. They juggle a lot of stuff, and it can get really, really hairy. So
one of my gigs in the military, in the Army side, was to be qualified as a Pathfinder. Pathfinders are trained in basic air traffic control. I'm not going to try and portray myself as an air traffic control guy, right? But now but because of that, I have this greater understanding of the cross flows of air traffic and the putting people into closed traffic patterns and getting them to do flyby while you bring this one in, and talking about the brownout conditions on the ground, all the things and the moving parts. And that's just like me on the ground talking to, 5 helicopters that are working a dust off or something. I'm just saying. All I know is that alone was a lot. And I cannot imagine systems failing while you're in the tower and you've got hundreds of planes carrying thousands of passengers all conversing upon one airfield.
Yeah, I mean, it's the stuff on the ground is just as complex as the stuff in the air. And, the air traffic controllers, they don't tend to make movies about them so much, like you get like Top Gun. But, I mean, they're as equally type A. They want to get a job done. They want to do it well, and they're darn good at it. And they're dealing with systems. They're managing all of this kind of stuff. So, yeah, the fact that it's not surprising that we're seeing some of these failures with systems that have been around for decades.
Well, we got to take a break right now. We come right back. We'll dive into this a little more. But one of the things that we got to talk about is why it's been put off so long. Eyes off the prize. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative, just plain right. Just pulling pins on truth grenades. All right, it's gonna be a short segment because I got carried away talking to Butters about call signs and stuff, and the next thing I know, I look up and realize, holy cow, I almost skipped the break. So just a few minutes here, but I got to say this. One of the things that we're looking at, and by the way, it's been on the screen, so props to CNN. This time, they actually talked about something I'm talking about. They just had a whole thing on there and said that, Butters, did you see it on the screen? That Newark Airport, which is a major hub, Newark Airport has had another this week outage of both comms and communications and radar connectivity with incoming flights this week.
Have you seen? Is there any stats on? Is this just happening more? Like, are we seeing this more because it's become so, especially after the crash in DCA? I assume this is something that has really been an ongoing. We just haven't really heard about it because the powers that be didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah, and I think part of it is the powers that be have also discovered that, and what we discovered is there was a 2022 report done in the middle of the Biden era, in the middle of the Buttigieg era.
Yeah.
So Buttigieg had a report in his hands that outlined what we would call critical infrastructure failures that need to get remedied soon or people are going to lose their lives. And he sat on it and didn't say anything because he was too busy chasing racist roads and making sure that the Green New Steel had him riding a bike to the press conference and then taking 2 months off for his paternity leave when he and his partner adopted. I'm being very derogatory, but he was the biggest waste for a critical secretary position of anybody I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But he had that report in his hands. That report is now, Duffy is now finding it and going, holy crap, they sat on this for 2 years of their administration. And I can go through several things that are in it.
It might be a stretch to compare it to the southern border, but it's what happens when serious people aren't put in charge of dealing with serious problems.
People have never led a thing in their lives.
Yeah. And so, look, the air traffic control system it's amazing what we've been able to do. Like the fact that we can do that, and it's complicated, and it needs serious people to deal with the issues.
The Trump administration says they're going to put together. We got like a minute here, but the Trump administration is putting together a 4-component plan. They say it's going to deal with communications, surveillance, automation, and facilities, all of it. And I'll go into more details, and you can give me your thoughts on it here in a minute. All right. All right. Wow, that was quick. Holy cow! How'd that happen? Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. Hey, all you Rightside ruffians out there, you are listening to Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative, just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Y'all don't talk about this show. Whew. I mean, it goes all the way from Huntsville back over to Chattanooga. I'm talking about from Tuscaloosa back over to Gadsden. I mean, down to that loveliest little village on the plains we call Auburn, straight across the border from there to, yes, what we now once again get to call Fort Benning. Fort Benning! And then, oh, by the way, big old patches in North Georgia and Mississippi all thrown in just for good measure. And that's just the radio. Not to mention our listening audience online with all you guys all everywhere. No matter where you are in the big wide world, go to the World Wide Web and check us out at rightside.media.org. And we got all the stuff. Hey, by the way, speaking of rightside.media.org, that's our website. We do a lot of stuff here at Rightside Radio. Rightside Media. That's the parent company of Rightside Radio. So yes, we're on every day with this, doing Rightside Radio, but we got all these podcasts, everything else. In fact, my latest podcast, The Right Philosophy, came out on Friday. Today, Birdman, he's got Right Click podcast that came out, and that one is conservative commentary with using the technology, high-tech stuff, and gaming as the backdrop. And so if you got somebody who's big into gaming or tech, they might enjoy that. And then, JP's got his on sports that comes out of right field on Mondays or Tuesdays. And then Emily Jones, Moms for Liberty, has got hers, comes out on Sundays. And then, oh, by the way, Jared Hudson, former Navy SEAL, has got his that comes out every other week. So, check it out, rightside.media.org. All our stuff is on there, and we'd love to have you partake. I'm going back to the discussion with Butters. Butterman, so the plan right now is, this is like a $25 billion 3-year plan.
That's it?
Yeah, really. I mean, they spent that much getting 8 EV chargers built during the Biden administration. But so they're replacing antiquated telecoms with getting it into fiber and all that, bringing it to the 21st century. They're looking at replacing upwards of 618 radars, which are past their life cycle. So the actual radars themselves are past their life cycle already. They're addressing runway safety. They are building 6 new air traffic control centers. I guess those are some kind of hubs. I guess ATCs have hubs as opposed to just being isolated locally, or do you know?
It depends on how they're controlling. Basically, the bigger you get into the airspace, the more centralized the control of that is.
Okay.
So, like your tower dude is in the tower, but...
Well, it says we haven't built a new one of these air traffic control centers since the 1960s.
I would believe that.
The 60s?
Yeah, I don't think the real fundamental structure of the airspace and where those,
Probably got linoleum floors and ashtrays next to the chairs.
Probably have ashtrays built into the consoles if I had to, had to guess. So we got ours when I was down in Kingsville, Texas is where I was stationed. We actually upgraded a good chunk of our equipment. That was about 10 years ago, and it was 1960s before.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So and here's the thing. Jump on this topic or go with the tech actually, but either one. But this is not a luxury. This is, air travel in the 21st century is not a luxury. It's not like if you really want to go there, you can fly if you choose. No, this is part of life now. It's commerce, it's travel, it's business. It's a mandate for life in the 21st century.
Yeah, I thinking about this when you text me, and I was trying to think about like how to describe. So, who lives in a community that doesn't complain about potholes, right? We've got all these road issues, the road construction that we deal with all over. Like that's just the issues that we're having with roads, and now we're talking about something that's a pretty complex thing.
Yeah.
and yeah, the fact that you've got 1960s era stuff, I mean, it's just,
If we were driving on 1960s asphalt, we'd all be complaining.
yeah. Yes. Some of us probably argue that we do, depending on where we live. But no, it's a very and yeah, it's thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of people every day. Their safety, most of them have no idea what all is involved. And
Hey, JP, while we're sitting here talking through this stuff, can you look up and see how many people fly just domestically in the United States every week? Because I've got that one article I told you about a minute ago, Butters, from New York Post, that there's 1,000 air traffic control system failures every week due to ancient equipment. I'm wondering how many people are in the air when that happens. You see it? What do you got?
Roughly 12.11 million people per week, 1.73 million
Just in the United States alone.
domestically in the U.S. and 1.73 million per day, roughly.
Good Lord.
well, I mean, the whole aviation world is I mean, most of your privately owned airplanes now are 1960s, 1970s, 1980s. Maybe is a newer plane. I'm talking mostly private aviation. Obviously, the airlines got a little more modern stuff, but I mean, I went to war in a plane that flew in Linebacker 2 in Vietnam. And I mean, and I'm not a B-52 guy. B-52 guys will roll their eyes at you. I mean,
yeah.
They're old airplanes.
All their planes are older than them.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. It is kind of I mean, obviously we've got a lot of modern stuff, F-35s and the new Boeing and Airbus products that are, and the issues that they've had with Boeing. It's an old industry, quite honestly, with a lot of things. And then you look at what Elon Musk is doing, catching rockets out of the air, and you go, huh. It seems like we could have a little bit better, a little safer. But I think it's kind of been, the aviation world is one of those, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. And so they've kind of like processes that have proven reliable. And
What I hate is that government often responds at the breakneck speed of a disaster.
Yes.
So it's like it too often is after the fact. I love the fact that the Trump administration is saying, stop all the green energy expenditure madness. Stop pretending racist roads are out there. We got to spend billions on this.
Yes.
Because this is necessary now, and this saves lives.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have serious people that'll focus on the right things. And quite honestly, one real big concern I have is that politics getting sucked into aviation safety. That's the tough part. Aviation is complicated enough, and that politics doesn't belong anywhere in there. We should be talking about how do we do this safely? What's the most effective and efficient way to do it? And everybody ought to. I mean, one of the things I loved about aviation was everybody stood up and said, "I did this wrong. You did this wrong." And accountability is a huge thing because you have to learn from the mistakes. And
Well,
politics doesn't help us learn.
Apparently, the Newark, New Jersey airport is the poster child for we got to fix this. I'm looking at one part of the study that came out, or I take it back, the New York Post article that came out, and it says that right now at Newark, the average flight is 4 hours delayed, and almost always because the FAA is having to hold planes on the ground while they work through systems issues, and it's just, yeah, this is. I don't want to. I hate to say these kind of things like an accident waiting to happen, but you know what I'm saying. You just hate to hear that this is all now known in a report. But I think Congress is going to have to allocate funds for this. It's going to have to be in some legislation and get it. And you look at how much they wasted money on in the last 4 years, and you think their eye was so off the prize. They were willing just to throw money at stuff that was imaginary, illusory, agenda-driven. And now we're looking at a report that says, do you know what you're missing right now?
Well, and how much money are we spending overseas? For
USAID. Oh my
right.
gosh.
I mean, yeah, which I think is what people have been screaming for years now of what are we doing?
Yeah. I mean, it's nuts. All right. Well, listen, air traffic control, big doing. By the way, part of the problem, I didn't even get into this. Part of the problem also is lack of staffing. aging systems are the main problem, but the report is also saying that we have way fewer certified professional air traffic controllers out there than we did this time 12 years ago.
I think a big piece of that is we're making less military across the board, pilots, air traffic controllers, maintainers. There's just less of them, just because we don't produce as many as we have traditionally. But I think it's also very similar to what the whole micro works and the I guess quote unquote blue collar jobs. That's a really good career field for air traffic control. I don't know if you've looked into the salaries, but rightfully so. You talk about all the stress and the complexities. I mean, you're very easily into a 6-figure job over there, and we're not pushing the right people, to necessarily go try that out. And
all right, you bring up a point on your keyboard right there, brother. Go ahead and take a look and see what is the average starting salary for an air traffic controller. I'm curious. And while he's doing that, do you have any idea what is the level of training they have to go through? Do you go off to boot camp, or do you train on the job? Do you go to school somewhere?
So it depends. The Navy does it a little different than the Air Force, and then the civilian side, I'm not 100% sure how the civilian side of it does, but the Navy, we do it all with enlisted guys, and so that's their starting schools. They learn the basics, and then they go to a facility typically, or they'll go out to a carrier and they get qualled on different steps. So
carrier deck's a whole entirely different animal.
Yeah, it's a very different aspect of air control. But so I was at an approach control facility, so we trained from a new guy up to talking a guy into landing. So
what'd you find out?
The average starting salary for an air traffic control in the U.S. is around $61,000.
That's not great. It's
According
not
to
bad, but it's not great.
According to Career Explorer and Aviation.
Does that
Job
require a
Search.
college degree?
That's a good question.
Okay, we'll
But
find out.
it's you're I know on the military side, the retention money that they were throwing out, some of the biggest, especially on the enlisted side in the Navy, it's to air traffic controllers, because they also, once you get them qualified, because it takes years typically to get fully qualified in a facility.
Yeah.
And once you've got them fully qualified, and you've got to have currency and all that kind of stuff, it's very, very time consuming. And so you throw money at them to keep them. And
yeah, save money by spending money. Absolutely. What you got?
While a degree isn't strictly mandated, it says aspiring air traffic controllers would generally benefit from it. So not strictly required.
That was a true AI answer. Okay. All right, listen, we're taking a break right now. Last break of the Friday, and then we'll come right back, wrap up, get some text messages, and head to the house. It is go home time almost on a Friday afternoon. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. Just making common sense like a superpower. Gary MS from Huntsville says, when Reagan fired the air traffic controllers, I lived in, I think it's Oklahoma City, and rented apartments to hundreds of people wanting to be air traffic control employees. Yeah, by the way, that's an amazing thing. So there was a period of time when the air traffic controllers nationwide were going to go on strike. And Ronald Reagan stepped into the fray, raised a lot of eyebrows, but it was the right thing to do. He said, here's the bottom line. Y'all are way too crucial to the well-being of this nation to be allowed to go on strike. So you're all going to be fired and replaced if you do that. And he basically just rode roughshod over the air traffic control union and got them back on the job. Shag Nasty the Atheist, where'd my texter go? Shag Nasty the Atheist said, anyone smart and disciplined enough to do air traffic control be smarter to do something else. Oh, okay. And then he says, anyone who can't strike is a slave. Okay. You're also a slave? No. If you can leave the job, leave the job. I got a brand new texter from Huntsville. It's BL from Huntsville. BL says, new texter, longtime listener, 1980s Marine Huey crew chief, shipmate Butters was talking military aircraft and morphed into the problems Boeing was having. He said Chinooks, Apaches, FA-18, Harriers, partners with Bell, V-22s. Just curious, what military aircraft problems did I miss? There have been issues, but well under control. Oh, the best call sign ever, he said, was Commander Bull Schmidt. Bull, oh, goodness. I just said that on the air, but all right. Thank you very much. All right, and then real quick before I go to the phones, John from Huntsville has the grades. Butters and Phil get an outstanding A+ for their equally outstanding performance, which means today's winner by a very small margin is JP with an A++. Congratulations. By the way, he says, JP, you would have been the obvious winner by a large margin if you hadn't talked too much about Nick Saban going to save the sports world and rule college football like a king. John.
Just cope, John.
Thanks, John. Let me run to the phones real quick. Jeff Rowe from Indiana. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
I was doing pretty good until I got here to the suburbs here, and everything slowed down again.
Oh, Lord. Well, at least we know where you are, basically.
Yep,
well,
exactly.
It's like really dark here. Is it raining up there where you are?
No, it's partly cloudy and 78 degrees.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's
Nice and dry.
that's not like weekend weather.
I could use some traffic controllers up here, I think, because the heck with the air, I need somebody on the ground.
Oh, what do you think? By the way, what did you think about that earlier discussion we had about that statue in New York City?
Like I say, it's called Grounded. What is it, Grounded to the Stars or whatever? Well, I think they're talking about the Broadway because the other statues are white or whatever, and then that's what it means. It's on the ground, and the other ones are on pedestals and stuff. So it's just kind of a slight at the other things.
That's
so I wouldn't pay much attention.
It's just
personally.
it's a waste.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well,
air traffic controllers.
Yeah. What you got?
What I think it should be done, if we're going to revamp the whole system and everything, we have to incorporate AI into this because in the next 10 years, whatever life cycle of this new system is,
that's a thought.
You should only have to have, AI should be doing most of the work, and you'd have a live traffic controller there, basically making sure that the AI works properly. And one guy could do a lot of work, as far as, like I say, 10 years from now, what's AI going to look like with what it's looking like right now?
Yeah, that's a great point. And AI, I mean, it's a little scary. I mean, there's a whole lot of trust factor. There's been too many Terminator movies out there. The idea of turning things over like that to AI, but I think it can, at the very least, it can augment systems, and you can have hyper alerts and bring the. Because right now there's this whole protocol in the military about not giving over lethal weapons to AI. And then you got to wonder, can we give over people's lives like air traffic control to AI? I don't know where we're going to be on that, but I can see it augmenting the systems though.
With what we got now, basically what you're saying is computers aren't even incorporated in it. They're using floppy disks and stuff. So it's like we're using the same technology we landed men on the moon with, you know.
That's true.
So I think we've progressed a little bit since then. So I think they should, things can be a little more automated than what they are, and probably be actually safer.
Well, you may be on to something, my truck driving buddy. Well, listen, man, the music is about to play, but you be careful on the road and have a great weekend for Mother's Day, all right?
You all too. Everybody have a happy Mother's Day.
All right,
have
man.
a good one, Butters.
He's already stepped out, but we'll tell him. All right, man, take care.
Okay.
All right, you guys, listen, you have an amazing weekend, all of you. Watch the weather where you are. Our listening area tends to be covered up with rain for this particular go-round, but just know this, your moms are special. They're very special, so make sure you remind them. In the meantime, we're reminding you there's more of us than there are of them, and God is still very much on his throne. Y'all stay